Terraform Ephemeral Resources. This is a new feature in the latest version of Terraform, version 1.10. It's not like ephemeral VMs or anything like that. It's something completely different. It solves a problem that's been around for years, which is that secret/sensitive information that you have in your configuration, it appears as plain text in the state file. Even though you can encrypt the state file, this is really not good to have them appearing as plain text. So the solution is this new resource. It's called an ephemeral resource. If you don't know, ephemeral is a fancy word. It basically just means temporary. And you can use this instead of previously you would have had to use a data source. Now, it's early days. There's some limitations. Currently, it's only for provider blocks. You can't do it in resource configuration. Will they fix that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the architecture will support anything else, but anyway, also only a few providers are supported at the moment. The big three clouds, you know what they are, Kubernetes as well, and within those only a few resources are handled. So for example, in AWS, Secrets Manager is supported. Now let's do a demo. What we're going to do is we're going to get from Secrets Manager PostgreSQL database credentials. This is a very common use case for Secrets Manager, and now you can use ephemeral resources to do this properly. So let's head over to the terminal to do a demo. Just quickly before then, if you like this video so far, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, come back later, check out all these videos on our channel, about 60 videos. We're at about 100 subscribers. I'd love to have you along for the ride. Let's move on to the terminal. First things first, let's just check what version we've got of Terraform, because I did upgrade it. Let's just double check. There we go, Terraform v1.10. And I got here a number of files I want to show you. So one's a backup, you can ignore that, we're going to use it later, but I've got all the providers in a single file called providers.tf, and then the rest of our configuration I put in this file called postgres.tf. Now we need a database, and we need a database secret, and we also need an incoming firewall rule so that from this server or from a home laptop we can connect to the database. So let me show you this. So these are commands, AWS commands. Because I did all this already, just point and click, not in Terraform in particular. So let's check that the database exists. The database instance, I should say, the infrastructure instance. So let's clear the screen, let's paste this in. By the way, what this command does here is it says look for this instance database 1 and take out the ARN because I don't want to reveal my AWS account number, and here we go, it's just returning the first relevant lines. There's the instance, that's the machine type, it's Postgres, here's the connection string. Nobody try to hack this because I'll have taken this down by the time this video goes out. There's the port. Let's just check the secret as well, just to prove. So copy that back here. So it's got this is retrieving details for the secret I made earlier, my test secret, and this is pretty standard for a database secret, that it's going to be in a JSON document, a JSON style, and in here we got a lot of key value pairs. So username Postgres, which is pretty standard, that's not really anything sensitive. This is password Open Sesame, and it's got some other details like the engine and the connection string and the port and stuff like that. So that's what we wanted to check. But I also recommend that we check connectivity to the database endpoint, because I had to do a lot of troubleshooting and I should have done it before I even touched Terraform. So let's just quickly do this. Let's confirm that we can get from this command line to the database. If we can, Terraform is not going to have any problem. So we're going to telnet to that connection string on port 5432, and it says connected. So we can definitely get connected. There's no firewall issue on this server that we're on. There's no problem on AWS side, and there's nothing in between that's blocking us. Let's check one more thing as well though. I want to show you here. This is a command here. pSQL is a Postgres client that I've got installed on this Linux box. Let's paste this in. And what we're going to do is connect to that connection URL, and it's going to ask for the password, so that's good. Open Sesame, and we're in, and it just says that we're using SSL, TLS, etc. So that's great. So let's do \L to list any databases. And what you've got here for Postgres, if you're not aware, it kind of these are some like default administrative kind of databases. There's nothing that I've created. This is all default standard stuff. So we should hopefully see by the end of this that there's something new there. So let's quit out of here. Let's clear the screen. Let's remind ourselves these Terraform files. We're going to first look at the providers.tf. So what I got in here is I've pinned the versions to the latest versions. Just a tip, if you don't pin the version or you have it too low, it's going to download all the versions, and you just don't want that. It's just taking up valuable disk space. So I've got here AWS provider, latest version. I've also got Postgres provider, latest version. The example you're about to see, I actually got it from the HashiCorp website. If you just type in Terraform ephemeral resources, it'll come up with the code that you're about to see. But what it didn't tell you is it didn't tell you this provider full path, and it's this serial GDN / Postgres. And the reason is HashiCorp used to write this provider and maintain it. Then they gave up and they handed it over to this person, this presumably a guy called Cyril, and he is continuing. The reason I tell you is because there's a lot called Postgres, and this is the one you want. This is the one that got handed over from HashiCorp, the one that I recommend, the one that's compatible with the code that we're about to go through, the code that's on the HashiCorp website as well. So make sure you do that. So let's come out of here. We won't be looking back in here again. Let's now look at Postgres.tf, and we've got 4 blocks here. So the first block up here, what it will do is there's this ephemeral resource, and by the way, normal resources, you know, just start with the prefix resource, and you're probably familiar also with data sources as well. Now ephemeral resource just starts with ephemeral. That's the only difference. Previously you would have said data here instead, but instead we now just say ephemeral, and this way it won't persist to state. So what we're doing here is we're getting the secret. This is just a standard AWS ephemeral type resource block. And here's a local variable, because remember the secret's got username and password. So we're going to take this opportunity, by the way, to first of all create a local variable which is going to decode the JSON, and later on we're going to use that here. So provider for Postgres is going to be configured with a number of items, the connection string, the port, and also from that local variable that we got from the ephemeral resource is going to have the username and password. And you're going to see that these don't persist to state. I also recommend having this connection timeout. This will help you with troubleshooting, because if you can't make that connection, Terraform's just going to sit there for like 2 minutes. So I recommend adding this to this particular provider. So that's my little addition to this code. And we're eventually going to create a new Postgres database. We're going to call it new_DB. Okay, so what we're going to do though to start off with is we're going to delete the Postgres stuff. I just want to prove and show you what happens when we do this ephemeral resource. Okay, so that's taken out. All we're going to do is the ephemeral resource and local variable. So let's write quit. Let's do a Terraform init. It's installing the providers, of course, because this is the first time. This is a completely fresh look at this demo. Okay, great, all good, all green. Let's do a Terraform plan. Okay, so let's inspect this. So the ephemeral resource, it says it's opening it, and then the opening was complete, and then it started to close it, and eventually it closed it. So it opened it and it closed it. It didn't do anything else, just opened it and closed it. And look, there's nothing to change, because obviously there are no real resources here, only ephemeral ones which appeared for about a second and then just disappeared. And as if to prove that, I've just done a list, and there's no Terraform.tf state, as you can see. It just doesn't exist. So let's move on. Let's do this. Let's go to that backup, and let's just restore it, and let's just reinspect this. So we now put these two back here. Okay. One thing I want to tell you, by the way, about this, even if you don't create a resource and you only have this, it is not going to check the connectivity. It just won't do that. And again, that's why this is useful. So don't think that this is being validated. Just something I wanted to mention. So what we're going to do now is, via this provider, we're going to create a new database called new_DB. So let's quit out of here. Let's do a Terraform. Let's clear the screen first. Let's do. Just want to show you a Terraform init. I think that should be okay. Yeah, there we go, because it's already previously installed. Let's clear the screen. Let's do a Terraform plan. I'm actually going to use the better way. I'm going to create a plan file, call plan file, see what it says now, and notice that something needs to be created, one to add, and it's this database called new DB. So let's clear the screen and let's do that. So let's go Terraform, apply, plan file, and this now is very, very interesting. Look at this. What it's done here, and it's going to create in no time anyway, so I'm going to start talking about it. It now has in between the opening and the closing this new part. So it opened the ephemeral resource, it created the database on the instance, and after 6 seconds it was complete, and it then closed the ephemeral resource because it's not needed anymore and we don't want it exposed. So you can see it only opens it for as long as it needs it, and it created this one resource. Let me show you something here. We now got a state file. Let's have a look at this. It won't be in fancy colors unfortunately, but let me show you it. And if we look here, there's the database, and it's called new underscore DB. And you notice here that there's no password open sesame anywhere. Let me page down. It's not very long, only 1.5 pages. And you can see here there's a dependency in the ephemeral resource. But nowhere in here do you see anywhere open sesame. There is this thing here private, but I think that's something different. I think that's just a coincidence. There is no open sesame anywhere in the state file. So that previous problem is now solved. Now let's just double check that this is correct. Let's clear the screen and let's connect with PSQL. And we're gonna find and even connect to that database. So there we go. And the password is open sesame. And we saw this before, so if we do a \L, there you go, there's a new database now called new underscore DB. So it worked. Terraform worked, and this is a validation of that, a verification, new underscore DB. We could even connect to it, new underscore DB. And look, it even authenticated successfully. Well, it knows it's connected as that particular user. So yeah, we can now do whatever we want to this database. The Terraform code absolutely worked. So just quit out of that. So that is end to end. If you want to get that code, you can get it just by Googling for Terraform ephemeral resources. You'll find the HashiCorp blog, the website about it. It's repeated in a number of places. You won't have any issues finding it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please come back for more. We're always covering Terraform, AWS, but also the other clouds as well, Python, Bash, Kubernetes, Linux, all the core, cloud, DevOps, and not just the tools but also other stuff as well. You can see here non-tools. So please come back, please like the video if you enjoyed that, and I will see you again soon. Take care, bye bye.